million question, isn't it? Has been for the last 3 or 4 transfer windows. Are Arsenal going to sign a striker? Well, talks are continuing between Arsenal and Sporting over their striker, Victor Gyökeres. There is a gap in valuation that remains, with Sporting thought to want £69 million, including add-ons. Now, while the clubs, we think, aren't too far away from a compromise on an overall fee, it's thought that how much of that fee will be guaranteed up front is going to be key to getting this deal done. Arsenal are understood, though, to be encouraged and impressed by Gyökeres' desire to want to come to Arsenal. He has decided that that is where he sees his future career. 27 years old, his first taste of Premier League football, and he wants it to be at Arsenal. They have, though, Arsenal, done due diligence on a number of other strikers, which you would expect, because if this deal cannot get done, because Sporting will dig their heels in, they will want the price that they feel is right for Victor Gyökeres, then they will move on to other targets. It has been a complex one, this one, because there was all this talk about gentlemen's agreements between Victor Gyökeres and the Sporting Lisbon president. And if Gyökeres stayed last season, which he did, he thought he could leave for less than £60 million. The Sporting Lisbon president was said that is not going to happen. Hence why they are looking for €70 million plus €10 million in add-on, which comes to around £69 million is what the asking price is.
Okay,
I keep receiving many questions from Arsenal fans of Victor Gyokeres. Guys, I know there are some suggestions in the recent days that the deal was already done and completed. That was not done, but it doesn't mean that the deal is not getting done. So, calma about the Gyökeres story. There was crazy excitement on Sunday, and I understand that because Arsenal made important progress. Arsenal are in very advanced talks for Victor Gyokeres, and that doesn't change, so it remains advanced, it remains concrete, it remains absolutely on the deal for Victor Gyokeres. Then the deal was not done, because before calling the deal done, you need an agreement club to club. The agreement with Gyokeres remains done, it's a 5-year contract. What I can tell you today is that Gyokeres, even in the recent hours, has been very clear with Sporting. He will not show up for training, so he is expected, eventually, if they don't close the deal before, to show up in 2 days, but the message is very clear from Victor Gyokeres: he will not show up, he doesn't want to train or to play for Sporting anymore. He wants to go to Arsenal. Very clear from the player. So now the two clubs remain in conversation about the gap they have in valuation for Victor Gyokeres. Let's follow the situation. Let them work. Let them negotiate. I will not be negative on this Gyokeres story. The conversation is ongoing. Arsenal are working on it. Let Arsenal work. Let Sporting work. Let all the people involved work with Victor Gyokeres, who is doing his very best to go to Arsenal.
Madueke, what's the latest on his future,
This one is developing, David, because we were told that Arsenal would probably approach Chelsea after the FIFA Club World Cup. Well, it's accelerating, because Arsenal are now in talks with Chelsea over a move for their forward, Noni Madueke. Initial contact has been made between the two clubs. We expect those talks to develop. Madueke, significantly, is understood to be open to that move. Personal terms on a long-term contract, not expected to be an issue if a deal can be agreed, of course. So Arsenal now are pushing on with this deal for Noni Madueke. They are now in talks with Chelsea over the potential signing of the forward.
Okay, so how might that affect their potential pursuit of Gyökeres? Because we know that Arsenal fans are excited about that.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, this is the question I've been asked since this news broke about Madueke. Our information is, at the moment, is it's not going to have an impact. That could change, clearly, but Gyökeres remains a primary target for Arsenal in this transfer window. Internal discussions are continuing at Arsenal over what their next steps are going to be, because the deal to bring in Gyökeres would require the triggering of a release clause. His release clause is £60 million plus £8 million in performance-related add-ons, which in total is £68 million. So if they were to meet that release clause, they can speak to Eze if Eze wanted to speak to Arsenal. However, if they want to negotiate on that release clause, then they would have to ask Crystal Palace for permission to speak to Gyökeres. Now, when you negotiate a release clause, some people immediately think it would mean trying to lower that value. Sometimes it can mean actually paying more than the release clause in return for favourable payment terms. But that is for down the line. At the moment, he remains a priority target for Arsenal.
OK, so Madueke, Eze, both great attacking threats, but neither of them an out-and-out striker, which is arguably what Arsenal need the most. So where are they at with that?
Yeah, it's the
Today, Arsenal sent a first bid to Chelsea for Noni Madueke. So club-to-club contact, I told you in the morning on my accounts that Arsenal and Chelsea were going to speak in the following hours. It happened, so story confirmed, and Arsenal presented a bid. From what I'm told, is around £50 million add-ons included. Chelsea want more. Chelsea want to start from 50 and go over this, including maybe some add-ons. Why? Because Chelsea use, for example, Anthony Elanga and some similar deals this summer as reference for the deal of Noni Madueke. So let's see how the conversation will continue. The relationship club to club, Chelsea-Arsenal, is very good. I would say excellent. So the two clubs are in conversation. Let's see if they can reach an agreement. Madueke already has an agreement with Arsenal. Madueke has been presented the project already 1 week ago. Mikel Arteta is very keen on signing Madueke. Madueke is very excited about the opportunity to go to Arsenal, but now he's on the clubs. So conversations ongoing, first bid on the table, the two clubs are discussing, are negotiating, but Noni Madueke remains a concrete option for Arsenal, a target, an important target for Arsenal, separate from the story regarding Eberechi Eze. Because obviously Eberechi Eze remains a target for Arsenal. In that case, I told you, it was almost 1 week ago when I told you that Arsenal made contact with the agents of Eberechi Eze. That remains the case. Arsenal are speaking to the player. The player is keen on a move to Arsenal, so Eberechi Eze remains one of the names on the shortlist. Then before closing the deal, obviously, also in this case, you need to talk to Crystal Palace, and that's not an easy point, but for sure is a separate story from
Arsenal's hopes of finalising a move for Sporting CPS Victor Gyökeres remain in limbo, but there is an optimism in both camps that a deal could be thrashed out in the next couple of days. The Gunners, who have identified the Swedish striker as their top summer priority, believed they had made considerable progress over the weekend. However, the two sides find themselves in a deadlock over the payment structure of the transfer. As revealed by Record, Sporting remain optimistic that a deal will eventually be ironed out, potentially within the next 24 hours. Although the Portuguese outlet did not elaborate on what exactly fuels the optimism, it is believed that Arsenal will ultimately back down, having already progressed so far in negotiations. Gyökeres is reportedly desperate to make the move to North London and has agreed to all personal terms with Arsenal. He has been given an extension to his summer break and is expected to report to Sporting's pre-season on Friday, a situation that the goalscorer wants to avoid as he hopes that his future will be sorted in the next couple of days. Gyökeres may be the headline pursuit, but Arsenal's summer ambitions extend beyond just a new striker. The club continues to monitor several additional targets, including Valencia centre-back Christian Mosquera, Chelsea winger Noni Madueke, Crystal Palace playmaker Eberechi Eze, and Real Madrid's Rodrigo. There is an increasing belief that the bulk of their dealings will be resolved before Arsenal's pre-season tour of Asia. They are set to fly out on July 19 with their first fixture, a clash against AC Milan in Singapore, taking place on July 23.